This is a contemplation about the first part of the golden path sequence. And I'm going back through the golden path for the fourth time. This time, however, it is for somebody that is really important in my life. We're going to work through it together and share insights and what we're thinking about. And I figured as I was going through that journey, why not share some contemplations with you guys as well? So our first two spheres, which if you're not familiar, go to genekeys.com, get your hologenetic profile, and you're going to see a bunch of spheres and a bunch of lines. And it starts in the very top, and then the next sphere is out to the right. And this first sphere is called your life's work. Second sphere is your evolution, and they're connected by this pathway called the pathway of challenge. So there's a lot here. Where do we want to start? Firstly, I guess let's talk about each of these spheres. So the life's work is what you are here to do in the world to evolve your soul. So what you're here to outwardly do, not necessarily who you're here to be, which is more in line with your purpose, but the lesson that you are meant to learn and then share with the world is your life's work, this incarnation. Then we come down to the sphere of evolution. And the sphere of evolution is holding back a lot of energy. And when you burst through this sphere, when you see the shadow in your life and are able to integrate it, it opens up a massive new world for you. And the evolution is your challenge. It is the thing that is going to keep showing up in your life over and over again until you learn how to handle it at a higher frequency. And from personal experience, when you think you understand it, there's going to be another layer and then another layer. And it's going to be the course of what I assume is my and your entire life. But this sphere, if we can start to grasp it, holds back a lot of the other spheres. Remember, these are all hologenetically encoded, meaning although this is laid out as a path, in reality, it's much more like Russian dolls, where one sphere sits inside of another, inside of another, inside of another. And so opening this sphere opens a lot. Next up, let's talk about the pathway here, the pathway of challenge. It's called the pathway of challenge because understanding and working with these two spheres is the thing that you need to overcome to begin the activation of your higher purpose. And as you contemplate these things, trust me, it's going to show up in your life over and over again and give you an opportunity to handle things a little bit differently. The next pathway coming out of evolution, I haven't written it here, but it's called the pathway of breakthrough, for the reasons that I just said. Okay, now these two spheres are what are called programming partners. So programming partners, if you take the I Ching, which is where the gene keys come from. The I Ching is an ancient Chinese knowledge. There are 64 what are called hexagrams in the I Ching, and that is what the gene keys are based off of. Richard Rudd, the founder, just took those hexagrams and had the epiphany, the realization that they fit perfectly over the human genome, which is mind-boggling and magical and just makes my heart do all sorts of crazy stuff when you think about it, especially when you think about those 64 things being involved in music and architecture and nature, and they just show up over and over and over again, and at my core it feels so true to me. So these programming partners, if you take those 64 hexagrams from the I Ching and you lay them around a circle, you're going to have hexagrams that are opposites of one another in that circle. And those are the programming partners. And those energies work with one another or against you, depending on what frequency you're in, serving in these feedback loops that either drive you deeper down into the shadow or present an opportunity for breakout to come into the gift frequency. So they are opposites of one another and they help one another in serving your evolution. So for example, my life's work is the 32nd gene key. At the shadow frequency, that is failure, the gift frequency, that is preservation, and at the siddhi, that is veneration. So let's talk about those. We take each of these keys and we divide them up into 3 different frequency bands. And in reality, there's probably 100 infinite different frequency bands, but for the sake of making easier for our brains to understand, we split it into 3. The shadow is the thing that we're trying to overcome. It is the collective frequency right now of our planet. It is you getting in your own way. Then we move up to the gift, and remember that the shadow is not bad, although it can cause a little bit of mayhem in your life. The gift is in the shadow. So it's not about running away from that thing. In fact, the opposite. It's about running towards it and contemplating it. When you feel the shadow kick up from one of these spheres, and when you contemplate it, you will see it in your life. Like I said, in that moment, you have an opportunity to act differently. And that ultimately, given enough chances, is how you get yourself into that gift frequency. So the shadow is not to be, there's nothing to fear. The gift frequency is how we start to live our purpose. It's how we share our gifts with the world. It is your genius. Then the siddhi frequency is the divine expression, the awakened energy that is within that key. And that's important. It's the same energy at the shadow, the gift, and the siddhi. It is just a different frequency. And if you learn to transmute it, you have access to those siddhis, not once you're an awakened being, right now. And you'll feel you go in and out of those siddhis. That took a long time for me to understand. It's not some place out in the future. It is here and now. And I haven't been able to hold those frequencies for extended periods of time, but I have certainly popped into them and popped back out of them. Okay, so programming partners. I said 32, failure, preservation, veneration, and then my evolution is 42. And it is expectation is the shadow, detachment is the gift, and celebration is the siddhi. So it's not too difficult to see. Failure and expectation. So I expect things, and when I don't get them, I see them as a failure. That is the shadow frequency, and it is self-reinforcing, and it puts me down a deep, deep, deep shadowy rabbit hole. Compare that to the gift frequency, preservation, which is essentially instead of seeing something as a failure, it's deciding what to preserve, deciding what is important, what carries forward with you, deciding where to put your energy in the first place, because the only true failure is not living your life's purpose. But preservation and detachment. So when I detach from that failure, I am able to choose to preserve what I love and what's important to me. So you can see how these programming partners are opposites and work together in these feedback loops. And that's a really important part of the shadow frequency. They're marked by these feedback loops that keep us locked in these patterns. Really important here also, the next 2 spheres are your radiance and your purpose. Those are also programming partners. So you got a pair of partners here and a pair of partners there, and more on that coming. Now, really important, remember your outer world reflects what's happening inside. And so once you start to understand this dynamic and you are able to break through, remember this next pathway that isn't on the whiteboard, but it comes out of evolution and connects to your radiance, then you're going to start to see that activation show up in your life, but it starts inside. So for a long time, I saw my life's work as what I was meant to do in the world. Then I had this aha light bulb moment that actually it is, what am I here to do inside of me? And because the universe is holographic in nature, that then translates directly to outside. So this failure at preservation veneration isn't about how do I help other people, although that is part of it as well, especially as we circle back to the brand, which is in the Pearl sequence, but it starts inside. How can I not see things as a failure? How can I not be panicked all the time and worried about making money and worried about this other thing, and instead choose where my energy goes with the gift of preservation? Okay, conscious choice. These two spheres are conscious. These are things that you have direct control over. This is similar to, if you watched my Venus sequence video, IQ and EQ. Those are conscious decisions. As those shadows show up in your life, you can notice them and make a choice to do something different. Compared to the next two that aren't up here, your radiance and your purpose, those are subconscious and they're much harder to control. Those are what shine through. In fact, they are uncontrollable. So this is really, really where you need to focus in the beginning. Lastly, let's talk about the 6 lines through, I guess, both of these spheres. And these are not the direct keynotes. These are just my take on the energy of the lines at large. So first line is about security. The first line is about going within. It's about simplicity. It's about practicality. It's about doing the thing and doing it well. There's no show here. There's no extra stuff. It's just go in, get it done, because you love creating and you love doing. That's the first line. Second line is the line of passion, the line of flow, the line of, just like this dancer type energy. It is marked with high highs and low lows. It has a tendency to cast blame outside of itself. When people see a second line, they see this amazing being that is in flow with life when this person is in the gift or the city frequency. It's like they just bob and weave with the flow of the river. Third line is about trial and error. The third line is about how many experiences can I have so that I'm able to learn from those experiences. Because of that, that can be a very adventurous and sometimes painful existence because you have to learn your lessons. Fourth line is the line of community, the line of love, the line of charity, of giving to others, being there for others, connecting with others. So if a fourth line was a plumber, it has nothing to do with the work of plumbing and everything to do with talking to the person whose house you're at. Fifth line is the line of leadership, the line of mentorship, of guidance. This is entrepreneurs. This is people that understand a problem and help other people solve that problem for them. No nonsense, again, similar to line one, but unlike line one, a fifth line typically might not be the one doing the work as much as organizing the work being done. Sixth line, my line, for life's work and evolution and lots of the spheres, sixth line is the line of vision. In these two spheres, specifically, it's around teaching, education, and surrender. My favorite, surrender. So because it's a line of vision, it is typically something that a lot of other people can't see quite yet. And because they can't see it quite yet, it is the sixth line's job to educate. Sixth lines don't want to solve the problem for you like a fifth line does. The sixth line wants to give you the tools and teach you how to solve the problem on your own. And that's why I'm making these videos, so that hopefully you engage with this wisdom and you can have your own contemplations and your own takeaways, and you can start to share your genius with the world. All right, that's it for today. I just want to say thank you guys so much for watching these. When I made the first one, I honestly didn't think anyone would ever watch it. And now that Venus sequence has like 500 views on it and 50 likes and a bunch of comments, and I don't really give a crap about the numbers. That's why I'm not like and subscribe, and no shame or guilt or anything for anybody that does that. This isn't about that for me. But I do love engaging with you. So if you watch it, leave a comment. Let me know. It feels good to me to do this and to be able to help. All right, guys, until next time.